Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games. This is the ELD Premodern Open Finals. Shane on Stasis, Brian on Replenish. Let me know which deck you think is favored in this matchup as we see Island go so far from Shane. Going to have those counter spells at the ready. Counterspell, Thwart, Foil, Daze. Stasis is a real nightmare for blue decks in my opinion, but Replenish has that oops I win factor with the namesake card. We see that Ancient Tomb in play, a little bit of acceleration, which can be important in this type of matchup. Now, very often in blue mirrors, whoever misses the first land drop is at a disadvantage. Both players so far naturally making all of their land drops, no cantrips, no card selection, just nice smooth draws. And here in Opalescence, this is a card that I feel like you probably need to let resolve. Doesn't do anything on its own. It is ultimately the only way that the deck wins, but the other cards that are going to become animated probably are the bigger concerns. A card like Parallax Tide could be a huge issue, combined with Parallax Nexus, or Parallax Wave, I should say, the white version. That would be infinite removal of your mana, and that would be game over. Tide itself is a kind of one-sided Armageddon typically, hitting up to 5 lands. In this instance, Shane would actually be able to survive that with his current mana base. Pretty impressive. But still too dangerous to be allowed to happen. Shane actually hard cashed Gush previously in response to the Opalescence. And now Parallax Wave. That gets annulled. It's worth noting that these forecasting cost enchantments are also a legit problem on their own with the animated side happening. So, like, just becoming a 4/4 is something that has to be handled. So, Shane's side, he's going to need to stop probably each Parallax card and all the replenishes. He has a Black Vice out. That is not likely to be much of a win condition until he gets a Stasis and Brian's no longer able to continue playing his cards. With as much mana as he has, anything he draws is going to be something that he can throw at the board. The Black Vice not going to do much work for now. Catching up with the cards here in the upper right-hand corner for those unfamiliar. Seal of Cleansing. A little bit of a problem card, but I don't know that you can waste a counter on it. It's just a 2/2. It will be able to answer that first Stasis and Parallax Tide. Shane actually counting his mana. Considering how he wants to do this. He's now facing down 6 damage a turn. Plenty of islands. This is the current plan for Brian. Let's just play some beaters. Thwart hard cast to stop this other 4/4. Fortunately, the player's not using our dedicated iPhone for life totals. As the channel gets more popular, hopefully players will be more and more aware of how their matches look. Clav Gix could actually be a factor here in terms of gaining life necessary to keep going. We have a mana short in response. Mana leak, that's paid. Oh, and then Daze. All right, so kind of 2-card combination here. Mana short to tap out Brian. And then once he's all tapped out, mana pool's drained. Daze. Chain of Vapor gets that. Seal of Cleansing out of there. Here's the Stasis. And yeah, this is unfortunate. So on board tricks here, Brian going to exile his 2 lands with the Parallax Tide, and he has the Seal of Cleansing in hand. So this gives him the mana. Players losing the untap step. Those lands entering untapped. And Claw of Gix now. I actually didn't catch how Stasis ended up in the bin. Seal of Cleansing is still on board. Maybe Shane didn't pay the upkeep? That's really hard to do in error. I guess I'll have to do a video on that if you miss your trigger to check and see what the current rules are. If it's just assumed that you didn't pay the upkeep, or if you have the option to put the upkeep on the stack. As it is, no Stasis, Chain of Vapor, bouncing Seal of Cleansing. And there's a Replenish. We have a Thwart, Mana Leak back. That's a Replenish, bringing back an entire game worth of chaos to close that one out. Shane going to the sideboard. We'll see how game 2 goes. Man, that last game was just a game of inches. If that Tide had 1 less counter on it, Brian would not have been able to replay his Seal of Cleansing, and it would have been a totally different ball game. Instead, was able to immediately bounce back with a heads-up play. This game, Black Vice comes down at first. And now Attunement. This is a real powerful card. I mean, Attunement is just kind of unrelenting. What do we have here? Looks like a 1 mana counter. I'm not actually sure. Maybe that's just an annul. Let me know in the comments. Attunement just continually fuels the card selection, gets the cards into the graveyard where they belong, and sets up that game-breaking Replenish. Now, the value of the card does go down a little bit in game 2, as your opponent potentially has graveyard hate, but it's not super abundant in Premodern. It's not like Vintage where people are playing potentially 7 graveyard hate cards against a deck like Dredge at certain points in time. I mean, you're kind of looking to dodge a few Tormod's Crypts against a prepared opponent, and sometimes players really won't have much at all for the graveyard. So here, Attunement, digging, putting 4 cards into the graveyard. And I love how powerful Ancient Tomb is in these decks. It's giving you that acceleration, a turn 2 Attunement, and being able to replay it each turn while continuing to build your mana base. Eventually hitting that game-breaking Replenish. And Attunement also getting its hands dirty, coming in for 3. We got ourselves a clock and a draw engine. Right now, Brian just content to go face. And oh, this is a powerful inclusion. Factor Fiction. Talk about a complex deck. Oh, and it hits another Factor Fiction. This is some classic stuff right here. Factor Fiction into another Factor Fiction. The old acronym EOTFOFYL. End of turn. Factor Fiction. You lose. This is a nightmare. Did I just see a 5-0 split go to the bin? I mean, I feel like we should like interview the players on this one. All of those cards just went to the graveyard. I think that was a 5-0 split that was declined. I'm floored if that's the case. I mean, all of those cards could just be cast. What did we just see there? It's because of the Black Vice, I guess. That just doesn't seem tenable to me at all. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about this incorrectly. We don't know the life totals, sadly. Not trying to shame anyone, but in the future, if you find yourself on camera, be sure to use our life totals so we can play along and understand the gravity of a decision like that. Yeah, Fact or Fiction certainly can refill the hand. And he would have a hard time getting those cards out. But he has the attunement. Accumulated knowledge isn't Shane's sideboard. I did take a look at the lists. I think it's going to be time to get a Patreon set up for the channel. Be able to put the deck lists over there on Patreon. It's some extra work for the store. And seems like a bonus that people would be excited to have access to. I mean, you can get kind of the broad strokes of these decks from any site that has pre-modern lists, but knowing specifically. And we take all of our deck lists digitally, so that is something that kind of go back and dig up lists from a few months ago as we go through this backlog. This is the finals of the ELD Premodern Open in January. We have February and March coming up next. Mana Short being fought over. Frantic Search. Not as tricky as it can be. Frantic Search sometimes can really allow blowout plays. We've seen earlier on camera, for example, Rashadenport trying to tap down lands and Frantic Search just destroying the entire premise where you can float the mana, allow the Rashadenports to tap down the lands, and then Frantic Search with the floating mana going into your main phase totally unimpeded, actually having improved your hand using the Frantic Search to dig deeper and get the cards where they belong. And here we have a Stasis coming down, but Brian has some mana to play with. Attunement interesting in that it can return and be replayed. We have an all-in Replenish. Oh no, that is not the response that you'd hope for. An AK for 2 in response. Whoa, and he hits the daze. Well, Brian is completely tapped out. Talk about a razor-thin margin. Just a single island, untapped, and another Replenish. And that is a wrap. Wow. So it looked like he actually had to let the Stasis go there. Actually missed out, had to get to untap and cast his spell. So Stasis had to let go, giving Brian that untap step for that final Replenish to just drive the nail in the coffin. Congratulations, Brian, ELD Premodern Open winner. See you on the next one.